guys, Alex Peak Performance Reviews. Welcome to another vlog. I'm here again for another edition of PPR Tech Garage, and today we're going to be talking about ECU tuning and tuning in general. So I've got basically a stock ECU that was in one of my cars, but most of my cars run standalone. They always have. A few of my other cars run standalone, and different engine management systems. However, before I go into talking about standalone engine management systems, I'm going to talk to you about the different types of tuning or maps, chip tuning, reflashes, so people just understand the basics. I keep on hearing lots of people talking about, I'm going to remap my car, when all they're doing is reflashing their ECU or having a chip tune or a off-the-shelf generic universal map. Much like, to be fair, my Revo Stage 4 Fiesta ST. Now, conventionally speaking and normally, I don't like generic normal maps. However, there is a good fundamental use of those type of maps or should I say reflashes, because if you're only doing specific control mods that a manufacturer, say be it Revo or Mount Tune or whoever it is, and you know, or that manufacturer knows that you're putting on a specific intercooler, a specific intake, a specific exhaust, and a specific turbo on there. If they know that, especially the turbocharger, and all of the other stuff are relatively controlled, and you're not changing for some ghetto fuel system or anything else you're changing that is extreme, much and most of what you're putting on the car is relatively controlled, and the differential or the plus or minus you're adding to the car is so few and far between that it is quite safe to put generic normal reflash maps on some of these type of cars, because like I say, it's controlled. Now if you start sticking on huge turbos that a manufacturer doesn't support, and then all of a sudden you're trying to put a universal reflash or bit of software on there, it's not going to work. You need a more sophisticated tuning solution, be it a standalone engine management system, that you can adjust lots more things within the car to control the safety of everything else. So yes, so first and foremost, ECU reflashes. So things like generic maps that are flashed onto a standard ECU. Yes, things like Mount Tune, control modules, carb, ECU Tech, Revo, companies like that, they can reflash a standard engine management system. So they plug into the OBD port and they can flash software onto the stock ECU and adjust some minor parameters. And then the car has that information stored. It doesn't change too much, but it changes enough different fundamentals within the ECU to allow it to run that specific turbocharger or whatever it may be. Now, you can also get these box tune kits, which they can stack. They are almost like a piggyback. So they plug onto, again, through an OBD port. They sometimes plug into the boost solenoid and things like that, the turbo sensors and things like that. TDI Tuning UK, Race Chip, companies like that, Celtic Tuning, they do different control modules a bit like that. So it is a bit like a piggyback. Some of those companies and some of those parts are actually reasonably well developed these days, and some of them even come with manufacturer warranties. So if they're giving you a guarantee, that's pretty good, because at the end of the day, I would worry what they're doing, because I don't know what they're doing. But it appears that more and more of those companies are doing more and more development, and though some of those piggyback control boxes are actually reasonably good. If I was doing a lot to a car, I personally wouldn't entertain it. If I was doing small mods to a car, or just a basic model, I wanted a minute reflash, I would consider one of those for a certain car that I wouldn't do lots to. But if I was doing more to a car, I'd either have a controlled reflash or definitely a standalone engine management system. So those two fall into a similar realm. Some of the old reflashes of old are really, really low end, and I wouldn't trust them. They're a flashed generic map that goes in through the OBD port. And then you've got these controlled boxes or controlled reflashes from manufacturers like Revos and Mount Tune and TDI and all these other TDI UK and Race Chip, like I mentioned. And then they're on a level somewhere for the basic to controlled modification side. And then you've got the standalone engine management. That basically is a completely new overhaul box. It controls absolutely everything, and a tuner can manipulate every single port and protocol, or nearly every single port and protocol and strategy within the car. So it takes over from the old ECU, and it becomes a new engine management system for that car, so it can control absolutely everything. Control logic and strategies can be far more advanced than the standard ECU, hence why people go for standalone engine management systems. Basic engine management systems can only do so much, sometimes up to a certain state of pressure and fueling, and then they need more advanced, more expansion to allow for bigger safety parameters to be added for different control logic, like boost by gear, anti-lag. It then becomes more apparent that you would maybe want to go with a standalone engine management system. I use a Cyvex ECU, which is epic. We all know about Cyvex. It starts life as a race, full race ECU. And it's been developed to run on normal cars, so you can get plug and play harnesses for specific cars like my Supra, Skylines, Evos, Subaru Imprezas. Even I think there's a development one now for a Fiesta ST. But the Cyvex is such a powerful engine management system that you can do so much to that, and it gives you so much more control logic and so much more safety that it's better than anything else that's out there. Obviously, there's lots of different standalone engine management systems out there. Some are more supported by different manufacturers than some others, so it's worth specifically using one that's better for your car, or one that you know has been used on your car. Like I say, I run the Cyvex ECU, and my tuning is done by Race Cow, Romain Levesque at Race Cow. Guy is an absolute genius, an absolute god. I love the guy. Always there for you when you need him, on the phone or by email, whether that's through a remote mapping session, or whether it's for any help or tips and help with anything really. So if you've got the money and you can afford a standalone engine management system, obviously they're more money, then go for one, definitely. But I'm going to talk to you now about the fundamental basics of an ECU after I've talked about what I already have. So the first thing that, again, I can go into so much with ECUs. That being said, obviously I actually don't know loads and loads about every single different parameter, dwell times and stuff like that of injector pulses. I understand the basics of some of that, but I don't want to talk about it because I'll get something wrong and I don't want to give you misinformation. But the basic fundamentals of tuning, especially when you go to a standalone, is ignition timing first and foremost. If you haven't seen my PPR Tech Garage episode on race fuels, I do talk about ignition timing on there, but the fundamentals of ignition timing is it's about how aggressive you can go with timing within the realms of your setup on your car, whether it be your fueling, your fuel system, and also the fuel that you use on the car, on the turbocharger and supporting mods. And the ignition timing is critical to how much end power you're going to get on the car before you get what's called engine knock. Again, I'd advise you to watch the PPR Tech Garage on the race fuels, because that goes into that as well a bit more. But knock is a scenario or point of where you get to a threshold, a maximum of what the engine can take and your car's setup can take before it you get this knock and this little pinking and this noise that your tuner will hear through a set of deck cans. and the engine's kind of basically going, can't do no more, can't do no more, and that's as aggressive as you can go with your ignition timing. Your ignition timing obviously can be controlled with a standalone engine management system and fine-tuned specific to your needs on any given fuel. Obviously, the next thing that has to be set up, it's in actually no particular order, but obviously an air-fuel ratio needs to be set. So the tuner will need to adjust the fuel mixture to meet the air requirement based on, again, the fuel and the ignition timing, and he can adjust that really fine-tune, adjust that with the standalone engine management system. It's going to be much more basic on the other types of tuning scenarios and setups I talked to you about. Standalone engine management system goes into super fine detail and can be super fine-tuned to a huge degree. So getting the air-fuel ratio is going to be much more advanced on a standalone engine management system. The more advanced you can go with the tuning, the better power, the safer the power. And safety, like I say, the most important thing is the safety aspect of being able to dial it in at such a fine ratio is such a powerful tool with the standalone engine management system. Now, the next thing is boost. So dialing in the boost. Most of those different control logic modules can manipulate or speak to the control solenoid and say what boost it wants to run. But again, with a standalone engine management system, you can fine tune that a lot more, and you can look at, like say, control logic like boost by gear. So you're not going to be able to dial in a certain amount of boost in different gears at different RPM. Maybe on some control logic, on some decent cars, you can even do that through manipulation or through control on some different piggybacks or reflashes. But most won't allow you to control different boost in different gears at different RPM, like a standalone engine management system will. Some standalone engine management systems may need expanders and some different control logic to allow you to do that. Things like launch control may need a switch on the accelerator, just things like that. Lots of different little weird and wonderful things that may need to be added, but sometimes very small things that can be added to there on the standalone engine management system as an expander, whereas the other control logic or other modules won't be able to do that. So obviously, yeah, you'll dial in the boost and you can control that a lot better. And obviously, more boost you can throw into that car within the realms of what that car can take and how much strength you've got in the components. The more power, the more torque. Simple as that. Again, talking of control logic, you can add things like water meth, ethanol injection or methanol injection, nitrous injection to standalone engine management systems, and you can control a lot of all of that and how much percentage and how you have a control solenoid for those systems pulsed within the ECU or with the ECU, whether it needs the expanders, rather than having to use a basic system. Obviously, some water meth systems and ethanol systems can have a mix adjuster and their own pulse solenoid, but you can a standalone engine management system can allow you to do that, and it can also calculate the ratio and mixture all from the standalone engine management system. So again, it's the power of the standalone engine management system that can do more advanced things like that as well. Obviously, different ECUs have governors on them, so things like speed limits. Some of the more advanced piggybacks or reflashes can remove some governors like top speed limits, launch control, hidden launch control things, and logic. Standalone engine management systems can do all of that because obviously they're controlling everything. That is the new ECU. So those things can be definitely done within a standalone engine management system. So you start to slowly realise and understand the power and the uses of a standalone engine management system, and I suppose why they are more money. So if you've got the money, go standalone, honestly. And I keep on pointing to that, that's not standalone, but get a standalone. And yeah, as I said, launch control, things like launch control and anti-lag, flat shift, and rolling anti-lag can be set up on a standalone and most standalone engine management systems. Sometimes they need expansion, The basic control modules and reflashes will probably not allow you to do things like that. Some will if they're on more sophisticated stock engine management systems. It is possible, but you would need to look into that for your specific needs and for your specific car. So yeah, some fairly modern cars do have some pretty trick ECUs in them that can do quite a lot, and it is quite surprising how much they can do. If you've got an older car, chances are your new standalone management system is going to do everything. If you try and find some basic control unit, you're never going to have that kind of potential in that. But go standalone, and the world is your oyster, as they say, and the sky's the limit. Simple as that. As always with everything, if you increase power and you have a standalone that supports more power and you're up in your boost, of course, obviously you need to think of the componentry within your vehicle. So within your motor, what strength clutches have you got on that? How strong your gearbox is, how strong the pistons and cogs are, how strong the crankshaft is, the bearings, everything needs to be looked at. So as you increase power on your car, think about what you're doing to it and do your research and see how much power you need for each different kind of modification, and make sure that you've got everything there to support that safely. Standalone engine management system is often one of the first port of calls I would look to go to when you do lots of mods to a car, or if you've got an old car that you want to kind of get a bit more modernised. But yeah, standalone engine management systems are very, very powerful, and if you've got the money, they are the one that I would advise to go for. Again, it's another PPR Tech Garage, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So yeah, as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next one. Bye for now.